Hello everybody, I'm currently getting ready to go to bed and I finished editing this video. I filmed this video the first week of January. It's currently going on to March 1st. I know, I skipped a whole 2 months of uploads. That's on me, I'm so sorry. But I just wanted to say real quick, I did want to get this video for you. I hope you enjoy it. I didn't put any of the clips of the commercial or the video of him getting the burns because I just didn't want to risk getting copyrighted, especially not on YouTube the way it is now. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video and I will see you hopefully in the next video, and hopefully that's soon. Bye.
Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Before I get started, welcome to my channel, welcome to 2025, first video of 2025. I want to start something new. I have one too many candles. I have a lot of candles that my aunt makes. My aunt has a candle and soap company. She makes all sorts of stuff. I have a lot of stuff that she's made, but she makes candles that smell like Fruit Loops, like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. She's got, what other one does she have? Captain Crunch. She's got all of them, but this one is a Fruit Loops one. I thought I was gonna burn myself. And we're just gonna set it right here. Today's video is actually one that I wanted to kind of do because I did a bunch of videos I did 2 videos, not a bunch. Actually, I did do a bunch of celebrity-esque videos back in 2023. I did, actually 2022, I did the George Michael one. I did that and I uploaded it on Christmas because that's when he died. 2023, I did Chris Farley. I did a bunch of like celebrity conspiracy theories. I did like the Viper Room. I talked about the Viper Room. And the reason that I want to do that again is because I had so much fun with those videos. It is really fun to kind of look into a celebrity's life and basically just kind of tell you about them and everything. And so today's video is actually of a celebrity that I am a huge fan of. You guys know I had a sister who passed away when I was 10, which was in 2014. And my brother was married at the time, and his now ex-wife made me a CD of like just a bunch of songs, and a lot of it was Michael Jackson. And so I really grew close to Michael's music, and it really helps me out through some of my toughest times. Like this past September and October, when my nephew passed away, it was a really big part of my life. So I wanted to do a video on him. He has a very interesting life. He's getting ready to have a movie come out about him this year in October. Hopefully. They said they were going to continue doing that. But yeah, we're gonna get into the video, and remember to like, comment, subscribe, whatever, do everything that's on the screen currently. Michael Joseph Jackson was born on January 29th, 1958 in Gary, Indiana. I'm currently in bed filming this and editing the Michael Jackson video, and I said that Michael Jackson was born January 29th. He's not. He was born August 29th. I'm just dumb. And I guess since I filmed this in January, almost a month and a half ago, that like I just assumed that it was January 29th. He was the 8th of 10 children born to Joseph and Katherine Jackson. And the Jacksons were a large family, and they were a working class family. Joseph worked in the steel mills, and his mother just kind of had part-time jobs. She had a hard time kind of keeping a job because she had polio as a child, and it gave her a limp for the rest of her life. Like, I think she still has it. So they grew up in a small house on Jackson Street, ironically. Michael's early life was made kind of a really close family bond, and they all shared a love of music. And home life had its difficulties for the Jacksons, mostly due to the harsh discipline of Joseph. Joseph was a very strict father. He was very, I don't know how to put it without sounding really, I mean, it's the truth. He was really, really hard on his children. By the time that Michael was 5, him and his brothers, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon, were practicing almost every day in their small living room. Michael was the front man of the group and would often practice different dance moves. Michael, a lot of his moves, a lot of his dances were inspired by James Brown. If you watch the Jacksons American Dream, it's an early 90s, like, made-for-TV movie. I think it was made by Jermaine Jackson, so it is a very, like, it's very accurate to what actually happened to the Jacksons. I highly recommend watching it because it gives you such an insight of what it was like when they were all home, all doing this together. So Joseph named the band or the group the Jackson 5. I think originally it was the Jackson Boys because they had more than just his children in it. It was a couple of their cousins as well that lived in the same street. But if you don't know who the Jackson 5 are, I highly recommend listening to them. They have some of the greatest songs, really good songs. They were really the front group for Motown back in the 60s into the 70s. The band kind of became under Joseph's management. Joseph was their manager. He made sure they practiced. He made them participate in local talent shows. He had them participate in talent shows that were slightly out of Gary, a little bit kind of out of that county into another county. If there was a big prize involved, Joseph wanted them to have it. I remember like in the made-for-TV movie, there was one time that they won second place, and it was like a colored TV. And if you're not that old, my dad is about the same age as a couple of the Jacksons. My dad was like, if you had a colored TV then, like, oh my gosh. So yeah, but they ended up in 1968, Bobby Taylor actually discovered the Jacksons group at like one of their little shows and actually brought them to Motown to audition. The boys auditioned and actually impressed the Motown president, Berry Gordy, and he signed the Jacksons almost immediately because of how talented the boys were. Soon after, the Jackson 5 hit the pop and R&B charts in 1969 with I Want You Back, which I'm pretty sure you all know the song. It's honestly one of those songs that you hear and you know exactly what it is. You hear the first few beats into it and you know what song it is. It's just that good. And not only was Berry Gordy a big part of making the Jacksons, Diana Ross was a major role in the Jacksons' debut, presenting the group to music industry insiders in Los Angeles in August of 1969, and they were the opening act for Diana Ross and the Supremes at Los Angeles Forum a few days later. She introduces them to all these music industry people, and a few days later, they are the opening act for Diana Ross. Over the next 11 months into a year, I Want You Back, ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There were chart toppers. So I mean, the Jacksons 5 just had 4 chart toppers. And that's like, they were the only group to have its first 4 records hit #1, and all back to back. However, by the mid 1970s, the Jackson 5 had decided to leave Motown. They were kind of getting, if I remember correctly, they were kind of getting screwed over with money. At least Joseph thought they were, and since they were still under his management, he decided that they wanted to leave. They actually ended up getting a much better deal with the next record company that they signed with. However, in the process of moving from Motown to the next record, they had to change their name because Motown had the Jackson 5 basically trademarked. It was theirs. And not only did they have to rebrand from the Jackson 5 to the Jacksons, they actually lost one of their founding members from that move to their next record company. Jermaine Jackson did not go with his group of brothers, and they added the youngest brother, Randy, to the group. This change was really hard on Michael. Michael's openly talked about it numerous times, how going from Jermaine to having no Jermaine, always having Jermaine on his left and Jermaine not being there, was really a difficult change, and he had no clue how to handle that. And I get it. It's definitely a hard kind of thing to do, get used to not having a sibling. By the late 70s, most of the Jacksons were moving on to solo music or wanting to explore their own solo careers. Most notably of the solo albums made from all of the Jackson kids was Off the Wall by Michael, which was released in 1979. It's a good album. I highly recommend listening to it. If you haven't, it's so good. It definitely, like, I don't know how to put it, like, it holds that 70s-esque in one. Like, it's that last year of the 70s, and it has like that embodiment of the 70s in it. And Michael had a #1 hit with that album, Rock With You. This was also the beginning of Michael's solo career and his stardom. However, Michael did not go solo just yet. He stayed with the group. In 1982, Michael released Thriller, which is still to this day the #1 most selling album ever. Keep that in mind. He made it in 1982, and 2025, it's still a #1 album. This actually was the album that shot Michael from being Michael Jackson to the Michael Jackson, the king of pop. within months of it being out. And it actually holds, like I said, the #1 album of all time with exceeding 66 million copies worldwide. I have one of those copies. That is astonishing. Not only that, recently they did re-release it with the 40th anniversary of the song a couple years back, I think in 2022. Thriller had a wide range of hits. Billie Jean, Beat It, and the namesake, of course, Thriller. Billie Jean and Beat It topped the charts in many countries, with Billie Jean holding the #1 position on the Billboard Hot 100 for 7 weeks. 7 weeks Billie Jean held it. During this era for Michael, we actually got one of the biggest and most notable performances of his career. It kind of became his staple. You know what I mean? Like, when you think of Michael Jackson, you most likely think of the moonwalk. Or the levitating, levitating draw during Smooth Criminal. He performed Billie Jean during the Motown 25, Yesterday, Today, and Forever. And he actually performed with his brothers. And then he had kind of made it a thing where he's like, I'm going to do at least one song by myself to kind of introduce. And they were like, yeah, you do your thing. And he performed. He gave us the moonwalk. And the album earned 8 Grammy Awards in 1984, which is record-breaking. Keep in mind, like, 4 years prior, he had released his first album. It didn't have that success. It was a big album, but it just didn't have the success. He releases Thriller, and all of a sudden he's an overnight sensation. However, during the height of his Thriller fame, Michael and his brothers were actually getting ready to do their final tour together. By the way, none of his brothers knew it was their final tour. He announced it during one of their shows. They had signed a contract with Pepsi and were shooting a commercial to promote the tour and the drink. I don't know if I'll get copyrighted. Hopefully I can put in a couple clips of it, of the commercial that came out after everything. Basically, you just had to promote the drink. Michael said he was only going to be in it for like 15 seconds, and that's what he did. During the shooting of the commercial, Michael was supposed to come out of a doorway. He was supposed to walk down a set of stairs, and pyrotechnics were supposed to go off behind him. However, it's the early 80s. Slick hair, wet looking hair, definitely a thing, especially for Michael Jackson. So he had a lot of hair products in. One of the pyrotechnics went off as he was going down the stairs, and it caught Michael's hair on fire. The fire spread very quickly. Like I said, he had so much hair product in his hair that it was just, and you know, hair product is mostly flammable. And there's actually a video of it that was released, I think, years later. He continues to go down the stairs because he doesn't feel it. One of his brothers sees it, comes over and like takes his coat off and like hits Michael in the head. His brothers were trying to put the fire out. He panicked when he first realized, and he's doing this. Michael was left with really severe burns, 2nd and 3rd degree burns. I had 1st degree burns when I got hit by the firework. He had 2nd and 3rd degree burns on his scalp. Keep in mind, if you pay attention, it's right like here. That is like, I got hit there and busted my head open there when I was really young, and that hurt. I can't imagine that. His scalp and even some of his face was actually burned by the time it kind of got here. Even the burns were so bad on his scalp that you could see parts of his scalp. Keep that in mind, that he had 2nd and 3rd degree burns on his scalp and onto his face. Michael was quickly taken and treated at the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center for his burns and smoke inhalation. Keep in mind, he did inhale some smoke, so he's probably... Michael once said that he thought he was dying and even saw visions of angels. This incident actually left him with horrible emotional trauma. Pepsi apologized to him, paid for his medical expenses, and offered him $1.5 million. Michael accepted the money and donated to the Brotman Medical Center in Culver City, California, and founded the Michael Jackson Burn Center for Children. Due to this incident with Pepsi, he had to undergo several surgeries to repair the damage and had to get hair implants to kind of make it look better. He often wore makeup to cover the scars and injuries to his face, and wigs and hats to conceal his hair loss. After this, he even suffered from nightmares and developed a fear of pyrotechnics. I got 1st degree burns and have a hard time listening to fireworks. I cannot imagine what it was like for Michael to go through that. Ironic enough, and sadly actually, this incident started his obsession with drugs and plastic surgery. Keep in mind, I bet he was probably doped up when he came into the hospital, so he definitely needed the drugs, I feel like. In 1987, Michael would release his third studio album entitled Bad. He would then embark on like a world tour for I think 2 years. In the following year, he released a autobiography entitled Moonwalk. I actually own Moonwalk. It's in my thing somewhere. Actually, it's right there. It's right next to Lisa Marie's book. I was gifted it in 5th grade by my then best friend, and to this day it's still one of my cherished things. I love it. And I was in 5th grade. So by 1990, for Michael Jackson, Thriller went platinum for the 21st time, and the Guinness Book of World Records certifies it as the best-selling album ever. In 1990, that's 6 years after it came out, or 7 years, it came out in 83. As we enter the 90s, I just want to say this: you can have your opinions on Michael Jackson all you want. You can have all your opinions. If you have nothing nice to say about this man, please do not comment it on my video. This is not a place for hate or anything against him. Because keep in mind, a lot of things can be said and a lot of things can be true. He's not here to tell us if it's true or not. And in a court of law, he was proven not guilty. So keep your thoughts to yourself. In 1991, Michael released his 4th studio album entitled Dangerous. It debuted at number 1 on Billboard 200 and spent an additional 3 weeks there. And within the first week it was out, it sold 326,500 copies. And in 1992, Michael would embark on his Dangerous World Tour. It'd go for a year and a half, and he played 69 concerts to nearly 4 million people. Keep that in mind, he only did 69 shows in the first year and a half, because he was take like a 6-month break and then he'd come back. And to nearly 4 million people is astonishing. On the same year his tour was supposed to start in 1982, Michael went onto the Oprah Winfrey Show, revealing he had vitiligo, a skin disorder that destroys melanin, and severe cases can leave a victim void of skin, which in his case, it left him void of any skin color that he previously had. But rumors had their way, and they actually mocked him, and people said that he bleached his skin because he didn't like his black skin. However, those rumors did not stop the Dangerous World Tour. He actually had a televised show, which you can find. It's titled Live in Buckhurst, The Dangerous Tour. Honestly, I've watched it. It's an amazing performance. And I'm like, this man was going for an hour to 2 hours non-stop. Like, he would take little breaks and drink orange juice, not water, orange juice. And he did this. And while he was taking these breaks, would still be talking to his fans and entertaining his fans. And not a lot of celebrities do that. And there's gonna be somebody in the comment, what Taylor Swift? Da, 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 da. She didn't talk to you while she was changing her costume. She didn't talk to you while she was taking her little breaks. He did. He stayed on that stage. Never once did he leave the stage. In 1993, he even performed the halftime Super Bowl. In order for the NFL to bring in more ratings for the year prior, they brought in Michael. By the way, Michael Jackson started the Super Bowl tradition of having a big musical halftime show. Viewership at the Super Bowl increased in between the halves for the first time in game history, with an audience of 133.4 million viewers in the United States and 1.3 billion viewers worldwide. It is estimated to be one of the most watched television broadcasts of all time, and I can't imagine, keep in mind, it's 1993. The Dallas Cowboys and the Buffalo Bills, I believe, are the two teams that were playing. And Michael Jackson brought in more ratings than those two teams. This actually would improve the sales of Michael's current album, Dangerous. And he did Super Bowl, continued to perform on his Dangerous tour. And in August of 1993, LAPD began an investigation against Michael based on allegation that he possibly molested 4 children. Like I said, you can have your opinion all you want, don't say shit in my comments. The police, however, find no incriminating evidence at Michael's Neverland Ranch, nor his Los Angeles condominium, which is basically just a really big apartment. In September, a family filed a suit against Michael. His team was quick to say that this was just a suit in part to extort Michael for $20 million. Since then, we've actually found out that Michael settled the suit for more than $20 million. And a lot of people had to say that, that was hush money, that was hush money. I bet he had people around him saying that he needed to just kind of quietly do it. Michael was actually very quiet after these allegations. He wasn't really out in public and had canceled the remaining dates of the Dangerous World Tour. We have since found out that he actually went to rehab at the very end of 1993, and after all that, because of drug issues. That's what he said. On May 26, 1994, Michael Jackson married the king of rock and roll's daughter, Lisa Marie Presley. This is the statement that Lisa said to the media following her quick marriage to Michael. Keep in mind, if you read Lisa Marie's book, she divorced her first husband, Danny Keough, in May of 1994. Very quickly did she marry Michael. Her statement says, "My married name is Lisa Marie Presley Jackson. My marriage to Michael Jackson took place in a private ceremony outside the United States weeks ago. I'm very much in love with Michael. I dedicate my life to being his wife. I understand and support him. We both look forward to raising a family." The two made their first televised appearance together in 1994 at the MTV Video Music Awards in September of that year. And like I said, in Lisa Marie's book, or like I'm about to say in her book as well, she talks about that kiss and thing and how she was terrified that that was actually going to be how Michael used to use her. That Michael was going to use her just for publicity and stuff like that, because she had been used prior like that. But yeah, in 1995, Michael released his next album, His Story, Past, Present, and Future Book 1. So there's actually going to be another part. It's never been released. On this album would be the first time Michael and his younger sister would do a song together. Janet Jackson performed on Scream. It is a great listen. Highly recommend it. In June of 1995, rumors had been swirling around Michael and Lisa Marie's marriage. It's an odd marriage to begin with. If you look at the two, you definitely wouldn't think that, right? Whether they were sexually active or not, you know, Michael and Lisa actually went on to do an interview with Diane Sawyer and answered these questions. They proclaimed that they did, in fact, have sex, and even said they hoped to have children one day. However, by December of 1995, Michael and Lisa Marie would separate after a year and a half of marriage. We found out in Lisa Marie's book this is actually because somebody told Lisa that Michael was already going to file. So one of her friends or somebody she was very close with told her Michael was going to file for a divorce and that she should do it first so it doesn't hurt her. Michael and Lisa Marie's marriage would be finalized on August 20th, 1996. That's my birthday. However, just 3 months later, Michael would go on to marry Debbie Rowe. Michael began his History World Tour in September 1996. So very quickly did Michael move on, and keep in mind his first son was born in early 1997. So Michael and Lisa hadn't even been separated very long before he was moved on and got pregnant with Debbie. Early 1997, Michael and Debbie would have their first child, Michael Jackson Jr. We know him as Prince. Before he becomes for me, his name is not Prince Michael Jackson. It is Michael Jackson Jr. His younger brother, BG, is named Prince Michael Jackson. Just want to get that out there. The same year, Michael was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and in mid-1998, Michael and Debbie had their second child, a girl named Paris Michael Catherine Jackson. Michael and Debbie would actually split in 1999, and he would get sole custody of their two children. Going into 2000, Billie Jean, Rock With You, I Want You Back, and Beat It make Rolling Stones magazine's list of the 100 greatest songs of all time. How do you have 4 of the greatest songs of all time out of 100? Like, you have the first 4? Damn, Michael. In 2001, Michael released his Invincible album, which is my favorite album, and I believe this is his now off-the-wall thriller, bad, dangerous history 6th studio album. The same year, Michael would battle a However, it's not well liked by critics and is actually doesn't sell very well. I don't understand how. It's a very good album. It's my favorite. The same year, Michael would battle a $21 million civil suit by a German concert promoter who said that Michael backed out of 2 concerts and pocketed in advance. Which, ironic enough, recently somebody sued the Jacksons for the exact same thing. It was right before Joseph died, I do believe, because Joseph apparently did the exact same thing years earlier, or like I think it's after this. Maybe I mentioned it. Maybe that's why. Michael would then host a 30th anniversary concert on September 9th and September 10th, if I remember correctly. It was kind of 2 back-to-back nights. Sadly, in 2001 is when he did this. He did this the 9th and the 10th of September 2001 in New York City. So yeah. In early 2002, Michael would have his 3rd and final child via surrogacy. Prince Michael Jackson was born. However, he was known as Blanket. He is now known as BG. When BG was just a few months old, Michael would lift his son over a hotel terrace so fans could get a glimpse. He was criticized for endangering his child. And in 2003, Michael was then charged with 7 counts of child sexual abuse and 2 counts of administering an intoxicating agent. All charges were made by the same boy, who was under 14 at the time of the alleged crime. Same year, Michael would release Number Ones, which was a collection of his best hits, which I do believe that I do own it. He had a documentary come out entitled Living with Michael Jackson. If you've never watched the Living with Michael Jackson, it's by Martin Bashir. He did the Princess Diana interview as well towards the end of her marriage, where she talks about Camilla and Charles and everything. She's like, I think there were 3 of us in this marriage. Same guy, and he edited the whole documentary to make it seem like Michael actually did everything. It would actually take 2 years for them to find Michael innocent on all charges. The trial began in 2005 in Santa Maria, California, and it approximately lasted 5 months. The prosecution presented a case that depicted Michael as a predator who used his fame and his home to lure and abuse children. Witnesses, including the accuser and his family, provided testimonies about their experience and interactions with Jackson. This is where I think kind of where people are like, oh, he did it, because of this. What you're about to hear from me has been proven as well. Michael's defense team, which was led by attorney Thomas Mesereau, had a vigorous defense. They were like, my client did not do that shit. They argued the allegations were actually fabricated by the accuser's family in an attempt to extort money from Michael. The defense portrayed the accuser's mother as a con artist who coached her children to lie in pursuit of financial gain, because it was very public that Michael had given the prior family money, the one that he'd settled in the early 90s. They also highlighted inconsistency in the testimony of the prosecution's key witnesses. On June 13th, 2005, after 7 days of deliberation, the jury acquitted Michael of all charges. Michael's fans were relieved, and he, I think, was probably also relieved, but his career actually suffered. It led Michael to decline mentally and physically. His appearances from then on out, he looked rough, he looked very skinny, he looked unwell, he looked very sad, and 2006, he faced financial troubles and was forced to close the main House of Neverland Ranch. Michael even agreed to a Sony-backed refinancing deal, and he hated Sony. He was very public about that. Michael would also make his first public appearance since the trial a year prior to accept 8 awards from Guinness World Records in London. Late 2006, he agreed to share joint custody of Prince in Paris with their mother, which I bet probably made him even more sad because his children were his everything. In 2007, Michael and Sony would buy Fame More Music LLC from Viacom, which gave him rights to songs by Eminem, Shakira, and Beck, which people think was a move to be petty after Eminem made a remark about Michael in a song a few years prior. Michael, in 2008, Michael issued Thriller 25, which celebrated 25 years since the album's first release. The reissue hits number 1 in 8 countries and reached a number 2 in the US. Sony would release King of Pop, a fan-curated compilation. It's an album. I do not own that one. In January of 2009, Michael would sign a deal for 10 concerts in London that summer. In March, Michael announced his last concerts in London, which were to begin on July 8th, 2009. He named the event This Is It. Just a few short days later, pre-sale begins on Ticketmaster for Michael's concerts. 40 dates were added. So he's only supposed to do 10. They added 40. He was doing 50 shows. 50. 2 days later, all dates for the tour were sold out, which is, by the way, insane. The fact that they were there for 2 days, this is pre-sale. This is like getting Eras Tour tickets recently. Like, compare that. That's how fast he was selling out. Late March, Michael goes to Center Staging, a studio in Burbank, California, with Kenny Ortega and Travis Payne to start rehearsals for This Is It. In March, he wasn't supposed to start doing this till July. He started rehearsals. In April, auditions to become dancers for the This Is It tour began. The team would select 6 men and 2 women. May 8th, AEG, which is who Michael was working for at the time, hires Conrad Murray as Michael's personal physician for the tour. I'm getting into almost a day-by-day kind of rundown of what Michael's life was like at this time to go into the final days. On May 14th, Michael and his children attend his parents' 60th wedding anniversary. Michael's whole family, aside from Randy, were in attendance. This is the last time Michael sees most of his family. May 27th is the first day of rehearsals at the Forum in Los Angeles. Michael will not attend rehearsals at the Forum until June 4th. Michael will be at almost every rehearsal after that until June 13th when he canceled rehearsal under doctor's orders. On June 18th, Michael does not show up for rehearsals. Randy Phillips goes to Michael's house. He eventually gets Michael to rehearsals. However, Michael was visibly shaken when he arrived. The next day at rehearsals, Michael seems upset, not coherent. He seems drugged and disoriented. Kenny Ortega suggests to him he should go home, which he does. Around this time, Michael's team and fans begin to worry about Michael's health. Fans going as far as to email Michael's team revealing how worried they are for Michael and how he looks like a skeleton, which he did. If you look at Michael in, we'll go 2000 to like 2009, I'll put it up on the screen, he looks like a completely different person because of how much weight he's lost. June 23rd, which is a Tuesday, Michael and the This Is It team start rehearsing at the Staples Center in LA. So they go from the Forum to the Staples Center, which is kind of the same thing as the O2 Arena. It kind of had the same vibe. On June 24th, Wednesday, Michael goes to the Staples Center where he meets with the production team to finalize some visual elements of the show. This would be the last time he would rehearse for the This Is It tour. Here is a rundown of Michael Jackson's final day. 12:30 a.m., Michael leaves the Staples Center with a huge smile on his face, according to witnesses. At 1 a.m., Michael arrives at his home. Conrad Murray begins treatment. 2 a.m., a Valium pill is administered to Michael. An hour later, 3 intravenous diazepine and an IV of benzo. 2 hours later, another treatment. 2.5 hours later, other drugs administered through IV. 10:40 to 11 a.m., infusing with propofol. At some point during this, Michael ceases to breathe. 11:51 a.m., Conrad Murray calls someone. It lasts 11 minutes. 12:01 or 12:05 p.m., Murray came down the stairwell and tells Chef Kai Chase, get security, get Prince. Keep in mind, Michael's 12-year-old son. Get him. 12:12 p.m., Dr. Murray calls Michael Amir Williams and leaves him a message. 12:15, Williams returns the call and Murray says Michael had a bad reaction. 12:17 p.m., Alberto Alvarez goes in the house and upstairs to Michael's bedroom. He sees Michael on the bed. The bed. Conrad Murray is administering CPR on a bed. Murray then tells Alvarez to get a bag and collect medical evidence. Tells this man to get a bag and collect all the drugs they just administered to Michael so they couldn't test anything. Another man enters the room. Following behind him are Prince and Paris. Paris begins to cry and falls to her knees. The man that entered with them grabs the two and takes them away from seeing their father. 12:21 p.m., Alvarez begins to collect the evidence and is told only then to call 911. Keep in mind, earlier I told you 10:51 a.m. to 11 a.m., he is administered propofol. And at some point in that time, he ceases to breathe. Over an hour later, they are told to call 911. Michael is in active cardiac arrest. It is not breathing. 11:22 p.m., LAFD paramedics receive a 911 call. At 12:26 p.m., paramedics are treating Michael on site. His eyes were fixed and dilated and he was cool to the touch. He flatlined, so CPR is taking place. No observation of appropriate equipment for treatment with propofol, according to the paramedics. They saw nothing to suggest that he had been given propofol, because Conrad Murray told the one guy to clean it up. Paramedics would then ask Murray about underlying medical conditions and ask what drugs were given. However, no mention of the propofol. Conrad Murray did not mention a damn thing about that propofol. 12:57 p.m. As revival efforts produce no results, paramedics are given permission to pronounce Michael dead. However, Murray wants to continue with the life-saving efforts. Ironic, because you waited an hour after you administered the propofol to do CPR, but paramedics are 1:07 p.m. Paramedics transport to UCLA Medical Center with Michael. Prince, Paris, and BG follow the ambulance with Michael Amir Williams. 1:13 p.m. Michael arrives in an ER room and doctors ask Murray what he was treating Michael for. He mentioned Valium and propofol, or Flomax. Valium and Flomax, but again, no mention of the propofol. Did he not think that they were going to run a toxicology report on Michael after? At 2:26 p.m., Michael Jackson is pronounced dead. Michael's brother Jermaine would announce Michael's death in a short press conference. LaToya would be the one to sign Michael's death certificate. On June 25th, 2009, Michael would be then the most searched on Google that day. I don't want to get into the conspiracy theories of it all. As somebody who does this for a living, I've talked a lot about like celebrity conspiracy theories and all that. I've watched a lot. The one that I've always agreed with is the fact that Michael Jackson was killed. He didn't just overdose on drugs, any of that. Michael Jackson was killed. I researched this months ago, and since then I've had hundreds of videos up on my For You page about Michael. And in his final days, his daughter has given a rundown of what it was like. In his final days, Michael was cold to the touch. He was very antsy. He was very cold. He was always cold. He was always sitting by the fire. Sometimes he'd even fall asleep next to the fire. When you read that in total, and you hear from people being like, Michael would call and, say somebody's gonna kill him, and nobody believed him, and he's dead. Then there's the thought of Michael was so open about healing the world and being truthful, and all of a sudden he's accused of child abuse, he's accused of sexually assaulting children, molesting them. I don't know, that just happens out of the blue. Like, he's had no prior of that from 92 to all the way back. He's never been accused of anything. Then all of a sudden 1993 rolls around and he's accused of it. And then as the 90s go on, somebody else says it. Somebody else says it. And what sucks is his accusers had a whole fucking show. A whole movie entitled Leaving Neverland. Which is not fair. I do believe that he was murdered. By who? I have no clue. The rumors speculated again after P. Diddy was arrested. P. Diddy did it. P. Diddy did it. However, I don't know. So tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. What you think happened. Do you think he just overdosed? Remember, you don't have to be rude. You don't have to say, I think he deserved it. Because he did have 3 children. He left 3 children behind when he died. So yeah. Just let me know what your comments are down below. Remember, you can always suggest a video. It doesn't have to be true crime related. It's always up on the screen how you do it. And I see you guys in the next video. And let's hope 2025 is a year of consistent uploads. I'll see you guys later. Bye.